Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support me. The sun dipped low in the sky as 5 children trudged through the thick underbrush, their hiking boots crunching over dry leaves and twigs. Lena, the oldest of the group at 12, led the way, her sharp eyes scanning the surrounding trees. They had gone farther than they should have, exploring the dense forest beyond the boundaries their teacher had set. She turned to look at the others, her brow furrowed. "We should head back. It's getting late," she said, her voice betraying a hint of unease. "Ah, come on, Lena, we've ain't got plenty of time before it gets dark," Ethan protested, his adventurous spirit showing as he bounded ahead, pushing past branches. Maya, her quiet demeanor contrasting with Ethan's sense energy, held her sketchbook tightly against her chest, her eyes drinking in the beauty of the ancient trees that surrounded them. She sketched in soft strokes, capturing the shadows and light playing across the towering trunk. Jack Ever the skeptic hung back, hands shoved deep into his pockets, grumbling about the irrationality of wandering so far from camp. "This is ridiculous. There's no way we were going to find anything cool out here. It sounds just trees and more trees." Olivia, the youngest of the group, and the most carefree, giggled as she crouched by a patch of ferns, watching a small rabbit hop. "I like it here," she said, her voice dreamy. "It feels like magic." Ethan rolled his eyes. "Magic? Yeah, sure. Let's see if we can find a unicorn while we re-at it." But as they ventured deeper, the atmosphere shifted. A soft mist began to rise from the forest floor, swirling around their feet. The trees seemed to grow taller, their branches intertwining above like a thick canopy blotting out the sun. The air grew cooler, and a faint glow began to emanate from the path ahead, flickering like fireflies in the twilight. Lena stopped abruptly. Her heart pounding, "Guys, something's not right." Ethan stopped beside her, his usual bravado faltering. "Whoa, what is that?" Ahead of them, a massive tree stood in the center of a clearing, its bark glowing faintly with intricate spiraling rounds. The light danced along its surface, casting a strange, almost ethereal glow that bathed the children in soft golden light. "Okay, this is definitely weird," Jack muttered, stepping closer despite his earlier reluctance. "That tree, it sounded like something out of a fairy tale." Maya approached cautiously, her sketchbook forgotten as her fingers brushed the rough bark of the tree. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet trembled. The glowing rounds flared brighter, and before they could react, the tree's roots shifted, parting like curtains to reveal a narrow path leading deeper into the forest. A soft, melodic hum filled the air, pulling them forward. Olivia's eyes widened in wonder. "It's like the forest is inviting us in." Lena hesitated, her instinct to protect the group warring with the undeniable pull of the mysterious path ahead. "We shouldn't, but..." "We've come this far," Ethan urged, stepping forward. "Let's us see where it leads." With a shared glance, the group followed the glowing path into the heart of the forgotten forest, the mist thickening around them until it felt as if they were walking through a dream. Strange, glowing plants lined the way, and the soft hum grew louder, more insistent. As they emerged into a wide clearing, they were greeted by a sight that took their breath away. The clearing was alive with magic glowing animals darted between towering trees. Flowers bloomed in vibrant colors that shimmered under the pale light of the mist, and the air was thick with the scent of blooming jasmine and damp earth. And standing in the center of it all was a figure unlike any they had ever seen. Tall, with skin as pale as moonlight and eyes that glowed a soft green, the figure was dressed in flowing robes that seemed to be woven from leaves and vines. His presence was both peaceful and commanding. "I am luring in," the figure spoke, his voice a soft melody that seemed to echo through the clearing. "Welcome, children of the human world. You have entered the Forgotten Forest, a place of magic and wonder. But this is no ordinary place. You were chosen by the forest itself." The children stared in awe, their minds racing to comprehend what they were seeing. Jack Ever the skeptic was the first to speak. "Chosen by the forest. This is some kind of joke, right?" Lurian smiled gently. "It is no joke, young one. This forest is a sanctuary, a place where magic still lives, untouched by the hands of those who would destroy it. But the forest is in danger. The outside world encroaches, threatening to strip away its beauty, its light. Only those with pure hearts can become its guardians to protect it from destruction, and you children have been chosen. Lena stepped forward, her voice shaking slightly. But we were just kids. How can we protect an entire forest? Lurian's seas softened. The forest does not choose lightly. Each of you possesses a strength, a purity of spirit that can harness the magic of this place. But you must first prove yourselves. There are trials you must face, challenges that will test your bond with nature and your willingness to protect it. Maya clutched her sketchbook tightly, her heart racing. What kind of trial? The forest will reveal them in time, Lorraine replied. But know this, the challenges will not be easy. You will face your fears, your doubts, and your weaknesses. Only by overcoming them will you unlock the magic of the forest and become its true guardian. Olivia, her eyes wide with excitement, stepped forward, eagerly. I'll do it. I'll protect the forest. Lena shot her a warning look. Olivia, we don't even know what we were agreeing to. But Olivia's mind was made up. It doesn't matter. This place is special. I can feel it. We have to help. Ethan, ever the adventurer, grinned. Count me in. This is way cooler than anything we've done on a camping trip before. Jack hesitated, his skepticism warring with the undeniable pull of the magic surrounding them. Finally, he sighed. Fine, I guess if we don't do this, no one else will. Lena took a deep breath, her protective instincts flaring. She couldn't deny the importance of what they were being asked to do. All right, we'll do it. We'll help protect the forest. Lurian smiled, a warm glow of approval in his eyes. Very well. The first trial awaits. Follow the path and the forest will guide you. With that, the glowing mist parted, revealing 5 separate paths leading deeper into the forest. Each path seemed to pulse with its own unique energy, beckoning each child toward their individual trial. Lena stood at the mouth of the path that called to her, her heart hammering in her chest. The others had already disappeared down their own paths, the forest swallowing them into its glowing embrace. She glanced back at where Lurian had stood, but the clearing was empty now, the mist thickening once more, leaving her alone with the weight of her decision. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. The path wound deeper into the heart of the forest, the air growing cooler with each step. Strange whispering voices echoed through the trees, though she couldn't make out the word. Her steps were slow, cautious, and with each footfall she felt the forest watching her, judging her. Suddenly, the path opened into a small clearing, and there in the center stood a large wolf. Its fur was dark as midnight, its eyes gleaming a deep, intelligent gold. The wolf stared at her, unmoving, as if waiting for something. Lena froze. She'd never been this close to a wild animal before, and every instinct screamed at her to turn and run. But something kept her feet planted, an invisible tether that pulled her toward the creature. The wolf let out a low, rumbling growl, its eyes narrowing. Lena took a step back, her heart racing. But then, almost without thinking, she knelt down, lowering herself to the ground. She didn't know why she did it, only that it felt right. The wolf's growl stopped. It took a hesitant step forward, sniffing the air between them. Lena stayed perfectly still, her breath held in her throat, waiting. The wolf circled her once, then twice, its nose close to the ground, studying her. Finally, it stopped in front of her, meeting her gaze with those deep, knowing eyes. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, and then slowly, Lena extended her hand, palm up. The wolf hesitated, then pressed its cold nose into her hand. A rush of warmth flooded her chest, and in that moment, Lena understood the wolf wasn't a threat. It was a guide, a protector. The connection between them was instant and powerful, a bond forged by trust. The wolf let out a soft huff and padded to her side, nudging her gently with its muzzle. Lena stood, her fear evaporating, replaced by a quiet confidence she hadn't felt before. Together, they left the clearing, the wolf walking by her side as if they had always belonged together. Meanwhile, Ethan had found himself in a part of the forest that felt utterly alien. The trees here were gnarled and twisted, their branches hanging low like claws reaching for him. The mist was thicker, clinging to his skin, and the path beneath his feet seemed to pulse with an energy that made his hair stand on end. He'd always prided himself on being brave, but something about this place made his stomach churn. Still, he pushed forward, driven by the need to prove himself, to show that he could face whatever trial the forest threw at him. The path led him to a small clearing where a large stone pedestal stood in the center. On top of the pedestal sat a single seed, glowing faintly in the dim light. Ethan stepped closer, his curiosity piqued. What was he supposed to do with a seed? As he reached out to touch it, a voice echoed in his mind. Plant it. Ethan froze, glancing around. Who said that? Plant the seed. The voice was soft, almost like the wind, but it was unmistakable. Ethan swallowed hard and picked up the seed, feeling its warmth in his hand. He looked around the clearing for a suitable spot and knelt down, pressing the seed into the soft earth. As soon as it was covered, the ground began to tremble. He jumped back as the earth split open, and from the soil, a massive vine shot upward, growing at an impossible rate. The vine twisted and curled, its tendrils reaching for the sky. Flowers bloomed along its length, glowing with a soft golden light. Ethan stared in awe as the vine continued to grow, spreading across the clearing until it had transformed the once barren area into a lush, vibrant garden. The transformation was breathtaking, and for the first time, Ethan felt the power of the forest coursing through him. He had made this happen. The forest had given him the ability to bring life, to nurture and protect. With a newfound sense of purpose, he turned and headed back down the path, the glow of the flowers lighting his way. Maya's trial was different. She found herself in front of a massive stone wall, its surface cracked and worn with age. At first she didn't understand what she was supposed to do, but then she noticed something small symbol etched into the stone, almost too faint to see. She moved closer, her fingers tracing the lines of the symbol. As her fingers moved over them, the symbols began to glow, faint at first, then brighter. Without thinking, Maya pulled out her sketchbook, her pencil moving over the paper in swift, sure stroke. She didn't know how, but she knew exactly what the wall needed. Her mind filled with images of trees, animals, and flowing water. As she drew, the wall responded, the cracks filling with light, the stone shifting under her touch. When she finished, the wall was no longer a barrier. It had become a mural, a living piece of art that pulsed with the magic of the forest. The creatures she had drawn seemed to move, the trees swayed, and the water flowed, all within the confines of the stone. Maya stepped back, her heart racing with pride. She had created something beautiful, something that would last. She had proven that her art could do more than just capture nature, it could become part of it. Jack's path, however, was fraught with frustration. He'd been walking for what felt like hours, his feet aching, his patience wearing thin. The forest had always been something he could explain, something he could break down into logic and reason, but now nothing made sense. He came to a halt in front of a massive tree, its bark covered in strange symbols. What now? He muttered, kicking at the dirt. The tree responded with a low groan, and the symbols began to glow. Jack stared at them, recognizing a pattern in the seemingly random shape. It was a puzzle, one that required logic and reasoning, his strength. He moved closer, his fingers hovering over the glowing symbol. One by one, he pressed them, following the sequence that formed in his mind. With each press, the tree shifted, its bark peeling away to reveal something hidden beneath the shimmering barrier that hummed with energy. Egg smirked. Finally, something I can work with. He reached out, his mind working through the problem. The barrier was a defense mechanism, one that had been weakened over time. He could fix it, reinforce it. His fingers flew over the glowing symbols, adjusting and repairing the barrier until it shimmered with renewed strength. When he stepped back, the barrier was whole again, protecting the forest from whatever threat had weakened it in the first place. Jack let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. He'd done it. He'd proven that logic and reason had a place in this magical world. Olivia's trial was perhaps the most personal. She had always felt a connection to animals, but now standing in the center of a meadow, surrounded by creatures both familiar and strange, she realized just how deep that connection ran. The creatures watched her, their eyes full of trust, waiting for her to guide them. A river ran through the meadow, and beyond it, a dark forest loomed full of danger. The creatures needed to cross the river, but the path was treacherous. Olivia took a deep breath, her heart swelling with the responsibility placed on her. She moved forward, her voice soft and soothing, as she called to the animal. One by one they followed her, trusting her completely as she led them across the narrow slippery stones that bridged the river. Her heart pounded with each step, the fear of failure gnawing at her, but she didn't falter. She could feel their trust, their belief in her, and it gave her the strength to continue. When the last creature had crossed safely, Olivia turned to look back at the meadow. The creatures had gathered around her, their eyes filled with gratitude. She had done it. She had proven herself a true guardian of the forest. The trials complete, the children were reunited in the heart of the forest, their spirits high with accomplishment. Lorien stood before them, his eyes full of pride. "You have proven yourselves worthy," he said, his voice filled with warmth. "You are now forest guardians, protectors of this sacred place. The magic of the forest flows within you, and with it comes great responsibility." The children exchanged glances, the weight of his words sinking in. They weren't two just ordinary kids anymore. They had been chosen, not by chance but by the forest itself. They had a duty now, one they couldn't ignore. As they left the forest and returned to their campsite, they carried with them the knowledge that they had changed, not just in themselves, but in how they viewed the world. The forest had given them a gift, and they would spend the rest of their lives protecting it.